Hey there, and welcome. So, Side Effects is holding a new Houdini art challenge called Mardini, which is starting on the 1st of March. The idea of it is to create an artwork in Houdini based on a daily prompt. That prompt is basically just a theme to base your artwork around. It's open to anyone who would like to enter, and if you do enter, it doesn't have to be every day. Last year, there were prizes for Best Daily, Best Weekly, Best Collection, Best Overall Artwork, and for entering every day. So, as you may know, I won Best Collection in last year's Who Lie Art Challenge, and I've decided to do a daily review video for each day's entries. I'm going to be talking about the winning entries, what makes them so good, and then I'm also going to be talking about some of the other entries. I'll go over what I like about them, what I think could maybe be changed, and how they could have been winning entries in my opinion. So if you'd like me to review your entry, feel free to tag me on Instagram at 9_between. So with all of that comes a bit of a disclaimer. Everything that I'm saying here is my own opinion. It doesn't make it right or wrong. I'm just trying to give a critique that the artist can work from and hopefully something that you can learn from as well. I'm not trying to make fun of or insult or belittle any of the artists. I'm merely just trying to give some feedback in an entertaining way. So let's get straight into it. In third place in the images category, we have this entry by Oscar for day 19 rural, and they have this rural road running through these fields. Now, this just has a very good feel to it. It gives you the idea of a vast emptiness, right? There's a lot of space to it. They've got these few trees in a very interesting composition over here, and this car for the full idea of scale. Now, in terms of lighting, they've done an excellent job. They have variation in the lighting over here. So you could imagine that the light is sort of hitting some clouds and causing these shapes on the ground. They also have these trees, which once again increase the amount of detail in the scene through shadow. Now, there is no focal point, but in this case, it doesn't really matter because they have so much detail and the main focus is actually the general idea. Right? The general feel of this image is what's important. And they really do get across the feel of a rural road in a sort of farm area. So I think that this is awesome. Great work, as always, from Oscar. In second place, we have this entry by Karl Kraus. This is very pretty. So the art style is sort of mixed in this case, which can generally feel disjointed, but for some reason, and I can't figure out why, this just feels like it works. Even though they have the very simple barn and this very simple mountain shape in the background, it still feels like it works with these realistic wheat fields. So first things first, excellent detail. They have this grass in the foreground with brilliant variation. Like this could have been a grass entry. It looks awesome. They also have more variation in the wheat fields over here. All of these are sort of facing different directions. They have some tonal variation. All of that looks great. They have this light that gives you this dark area over here, but hits the top of all of the wheat. Now they also have a very well established foreground, middle ground, and background. Now all of that combined results in a very full environment. There's a wholeness to this. And I think that this looks brilliant. The mountains in the background sort of remind me of something like Firewatch. And so I think that that's cool to have that little bit of aerial perspective. So as it goes into the distance, those sort of fade away. But yeah, it's got a great feel to it. Wonderful entry from Karl Kraus. And in first place, we have this insane entry from Jason Harmon. So first and foremost, it's such a pretty image, right? It looks pretty much realistic. And it takes a long time to even notice any issues with this. Firstly, a wonderful composition, right? The sort of leading off into the distance on the right hand side with your focal point being these letterboxes over to the left. Now there's extremely good variation. I think this goes without saying that the variation in this is brilliant, right? All of these letterboxes feel very different, even though, you know, this one and that one are very similar. This one and this one are very similar. There's no real repetition to be noticed. The texturing on the wood and the metal looks perfect. They have this little bit of grass to add more to the environment and make it feel more fleshed out. Same thing with the rocks and the gravel. All of that helps the scene along. They have this great lighting that plays on the ground very nicely. And it's also golden hour. So it's about maybe 1 hour before sunset. It's that time where the lighting is just that beautiful golden color. It looks great in this sort of scene. They've got what seems to be an HDRI in the background, but they've been smart enough to add shallow depth of field, and so the distinction between geometry and HDRI gets blurred out. You don't really get the idea that there's any sort of disjointed feeling in the background. It feels very natural. I can't fault this at all. I think that it's one of the best entries in the competition. Jason Harmon did an insane job with this. So yeah, awesome work. In third place in the animation category, we have this awesome entry by Furuya Takumi. So they've got what seems to be a very similar setting to the other entries. However, they do this great transition into this bonsai. You feel like this is a full-scale scene, true to life. Maybe this is a full-sized house. It's just simplified, right? This is just the art style that they've gone for, a very simplified feel to it. And then you go through this and it feels like wheat fields or crops of some sort. And then you zoom out and look at the sky and you get the idea of scale, right? The tree feels big over here. It feels like you're in a vast area. Then as it transitions out, you realize that those crops are just little bits of moss or grass, and the house is tiny, and this is the main focal point. It's an incredibly smart shot, right? The transition feels fairly natural, and overall, it's very unique. So awesome take on the topic. Of course, this was a lot to tackle, but if this was fully fleshed out, it would be incredible, right? You would have a perfectly textured tree and a well-modeled house and some good crops in the background, and you would do this exact same transition, and it would be an insane artwork. So conceptually, it's brilliant, and the execution is as good as it gets for a daily entry. I think they did an awesome job with the time constraints. So yeah, wonderful entry from Furuya Takumi. In second place, we have this entry by Illusion. This is ridiculously good. So first and foremost, the variation in their grasses over here. They've got extremely realistic looking grass over here, and it's instanced at a large scale. It looks realistic, you know, all the way through. At this point, there's a slight atmosphere to it, and you can see that there's a very slight distortion. They've got this sort of handheld camera feel to it, and then they zoom out, and only at this point do you really get the idea of rural. You know, this may have been where a sort of pagan ritual took place in a rural area. And so, yeah, you know, this is an awesome entry. Even the areas where there aren't grass, it's extremely well fleshed out. And you know, this is really not too far off from being a very cinematic shot, right? From being in film. This is brilliant. So yeah, can't fault this one by Illusion. I think it's insane. And in first place, we have this entry by Jogri. And it's only a 1-second clip, but they have, once again, a sort of golden hour lighting. They have this orange warm light, and they have these stalks of wheat up in the foreground, falls back into the background. They have an HDRI that's out of focus so that it's not distracting and not obvious. And once again, there's very little that I can say about this because it is a wonderful entry. The only few things that I would say is all the elements that are in focus, I would say ensure that there is better resolution on them. You can sort of see faceting along here. So subdivision on all of these curves, and then maybe a bit of a husk or something on all of these kernels. But really, I don't think that there's anything particularly wrong with this. It's an awesome entry. And this seems to have been rendered in Apprentice. It's got the watermark in the bottom left, but it definitely doesn't have an amateurish feel to it. This is incredible. They even have a sort of lens flare over there from the light on the left-hand side. Very realistic looking scene, wonderful composition, wonderful lighting. Everything about it is great. So yeah, brilliant stuff from Jogri. Jujutsu. This one from ILLSQJNABCDEFGHI. It's cool. Awesome entry. So it's got such a nice feel to it, right? And the shadow depth of field makes these feel like miniatures. So it's tiny piggies, tiny cows. Yeah, it's got a wonderful art style to it. Honestly, I think if it was just slightly more fleshed out, so, you know, a little bit of extra detail, slightly better texturing and things. It would be insane. So maybe a better HDRI as well. So, oh, not even using an HDRI. So remove the HDRI, put clouds in the atmosphere. That would be a winning entry, 100%. Like, I actually think that this deserves the special mention because it's a very unique art style and all of its geometry looks awesome. Their rendering is great. It only falls short in very few places, such as the sky and the minor texture on the ground, but that's it really. Everything else about it is great. So yeah, awesome stuff from ILLSQJN. This one from Joe NYC. It's very nice. It's like a very unique take. It's got that sort of small world feel to it. I think that the grass looks great. There's good variation. The lighting is awesome. Edge light over there. And then a sort of full light. And they've got the diffuse. You know, they've got the 3 lights set up. And so the only thing I would say about this one is that this sort of barn actually kind of gets a bit lost in here. And it's a shame because this is a great entry, right? There's a lot of good things about this. I feel that maybe the barn should just be a bit bigger, you know, taking up maybe this much space. Wow, I got a bit carried away with that. Maybe taking up about this much space, you know, something like that. I think maybe then it would work a bit better, but I do think that it's really cool. It's a nice conceptual idea. So yeah, great stuff from Joe NYC. You know, I'm from Africa, and our giraffes don't look like this. Also, they don't roam around in sunflower fields. But apart from the minor incongruencies, this is a really pretty shot. Like this, the volumetric sort of fog, the cute little giraffe toy thing, and the sunflowers. If the other entries weren't so insanely good today, this one would have definitely been a top 3 entry. Like, I think it was probably hotly contested. This one makes me happy. Because these donkeys, like, there's been like a sci-fi donkey and a conquest donkey and like Julius Caesar donkey and every type of donkey, stone donkey. And now they're finally home. This feels like closure. Calling an end to Mardini. This feels nice. Nice atmosphere to this one. Feels very peaceful. Great donkeys from Hans Palacios, as always. What? Am I... What? Watched this maybe 6 times, thinking I've missed some like obscure reference or something, but what? Man, this Naruto running pig with the pig boots makes me uncomfortable, to say the least. I like it. This one from Bayan Flying Fish, I think that's the name. Very nice. So I just want to say, like, the lighting on here is pretty cool. Simulation is pretty cool. I'd say the only thing is you'd maybe want some color variation and sort of thickness variation. These are very thin and wispy. Maybe taper them towards the tip, so like a varying thickness or just something like that. It just feels more like fur than it does a field, but I think that it's very nice. So yeah. No, my daily dose of psychedelics. Drasko Ivashik's entry. An error occurred. Not like this. Please. All these submissions are pretty darn good. Take your like and get out of here. It's so good. Is it wrong to laugh at it? It's like that time Elon Musk laughed at the drowning deer.
I think this is a reflection of how, like, just
oh my god,
dark we've become.
Oh my god.
A lot of weird forces at odds with each
Well,
other.
why am I
It's genuinely entertaining though. What is... Oppa! And it's such good destruction at the end as well. That's so good. What am I? What is this? What's going on? I think Mardini's starting to get to people. 20 days of Houdini and minimal sleep and things like this start happening. This one captures the utter... Ah, you got me. Utter ridiculousness of today. Ha ha ha. Take your like. So yeah, after a pun-filled day, we've reached the end. So thanks for watching. I will see you tomorrow. I don't know what tomorrow is. Is it the start of a new week? No, it's hidden and then, okay, then Creatures Week. I'll be entering in Creatures Week sometime. I know my brother also has plans for Creatures Week. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.